Hey y'all, this is Haplin with HighLevel, and I am here hosting a very special masterclass. Here on the call, we have with us WhatsApp Master Chris Dillon. Chris, say hi.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good. Okay, sweet. We're so happy to be here. Like I said, this is going to be about WhatsApp. Chris Dillon is WhatsApp extraordinaire inside of High Level and has graciously made himself available to teach us, to teach the community what he knows about using WhatsApp in High Level, how to get results with it, how to implement it, set it up, and launch. I do want to say before we even dive in, just right up at the top, that this masterclass is accompanying an actual playbook. This is the first time we've done this. Chris Dillon made a full WhatsApp playbook for us, for the community. I'll make sure that you guys know how to get access to that. But it's a great supplement to this masterclass that we're doing because we're going to brush on the surface, talk about some strategic elements, um, and teach you guys a lot in this masterclass, but there's even more that's in the playbook. So if you head over to our university, you can watch a full recorded course, a walkthrough, an implementation playbook on WhatsApp for High Level that Chris has made for us and for the community. And so this is a great pairing. Once you're done watching this video, if you want to learn more, if you want to go in depth, actually get a step-by-step instructions, click this button, then click this button, then click this button from start to finish. The playbook is going to be fully robust and go way more in depth than we're able to go here. But this is a great chance to get our hands dirty, get our feet wet, whatever you want to call it, with WhatsApp, kind of understanding the premise of WhatsApp and the overview. So, with that, I do kind of want to have you start out, Chris. Start talking to us about your orientation toward WhatsApp, how what got you into it when you saw WhatsApp in High Level. Obviously, you went full in, you dove into the deep end, and I'm curious what drove that for you. How have you been using WhatsApp in your business, and how has High Level provided some of that value to you with its WhatsApp integration?
100%. Really, really good question. So it's probably worth noting that I was diving into WhatsApp before High Level had the functionality on it as well. So I
Amazing.
was screaming out for High Level to have it internally and bring it all into the system because that's been the core system that we've used. And up until it was it was capable enough internally in the system, I was having to connect up third parties and I stumbled across it when my previous business to what I do now was focusing on paid advertising and specifically running lead generation adverts for businesses and bringing leads into them. And we were losing clients left, right, and center because they just weren't following up the leads. And we understood the importance of that follow up, which I know is talked about in a lot of other masterclasses and pretty much echoed throughout the High Level universe that follow up is your most profitable avenue that most people neglect. And having a look at the different ways to do that, the different ways you get engagement, the ways that you can get replies, kind of across the board. And for us, email is good, and when it's done really well, it can be done really well. That makes sense. When it's done really well, it can be implemented and have good results. But when we discovered that WhatsApp had the capability on Meta's side to be able to automate messages out and make them interactive, it just pales. It makes email's engagement rate look minuscule at that point. One of the stats I was researching in advance of the summit before the talk was the average click-through rate on emails will be hovering between sort of 2 and 3%, that kind of mark. The average reply rate for WhatsApps when you've got buttons in them is over 55. Now
Wow.
the open rates are in the 90s for both SMS and WhatsApp. They sort of hover a lot lower for email as we all know. And again, you can bump up those open rates, but there was a stat I read which is 80% of every single WhatsApp message that is sent globally, of which there are 100 billion sent globally, is opened within 10 minutes of it being received by the device that's there.
Wow.
So I've always looked at across the entire marketing world of where is people's attention? Where are they spending their time? What There's no point running an advertising campaign for something that isn't relevant to the place that you're putting it. I often say over here in the UK, I'm a big football fan. I know a lot of people would say soccer that are watching this, and I'm not going to start that argument in the comments, I promise. But if you're advertising something that is, let's say, advertising a school theatre group outside of a football crowd, the chances are you're not going to get a huge amount of bites. And if you're advertising outside of a school with a burger van, you're probably not going to get too many people buying it. You need to be where the customer's attention is. And WhatsApp seemed to be where most of the engagement and interaction was. So I was overjoyed when the functionality was put into HighLevel that we could send these media rich messages that made engagement incredibly simple and generated conversations. Because that's ultimately what we want is all of us will know it's a lot easier to grow our business, make sales, increase customer service, onboarding, all of these things that we'll talk about by just simply having a conversation with somebody. And WhatsApp outside of the US is hands down the leader in messaging platforms globally. In the UK, where I am, it's 82% of all internet users are on WhatsApp.
Wow.
Average WhatsApp user spending 61 minutes a day looking at WhatsApp, which, when you consider it is just purely a messaging platform and they're just on there to message, is a huge number. In the US, it's 100 million users and growing at the moment. They passed 100 million users, I believe, at the start of 2025 or the end of 24. So it's growing. And definitely, if you've got anybody that is outside of the US, WhatsApp is the default, uh, especially in South America, Latin America, almost all of Asia. I mean, 96% of all internet users in South Africa, for example, use WhatsApp. It's more used than any other social media by a significant way. So part of what we're hoping to get through on this masterclass is that sort of why it should be commanding the attention and why it should kind of build in and the impact that it can have. And the playbook is the technicalities of right. That's the theory behind it. Here is putting it into practice.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to bring the audience, if you're watching this, your attention back to something Chris said earlier, which was generating conversations. This is something I can definitely connect with. I'm in the US, so I only just got a WhatsApp account a couple years back, maybe, but I'm a newer WhatsApp user. But like you said, it's growing in the US too. But even if you're doing SMS in the US, that's fine. But outside of the US, like you said, WhatsApp is dominant in terms of that conversational channel. Strategically, though, I relate to this because I used to work in a very similar situation as you, local marketing agency, where our clients weren't following up with their leads, right? And they weren't converting in. And so many businesses miss this even today, that like the connection between marketing and sales. I feel like there's this huge gap. And in general, we have this conception of what marketing is, and we have this conception of what sales is. And big corporations have a marketing department and a sales department, and they're like these two separate entities. And so much of what I have found HighLevel to be really, really good at, and the genius of HighLevel is starting to like connect the dots between the two and like make sure that marketing efforts translate to sales efforts. And we could talk about a lot of different things and a lot of different areas of HighLevel that do that. But I think like the number one thing that I tell people who aren't thinking about this is the conversational element. To go from opting in on an ad, interacting with some advertising, or landing on a website, filling out a form, whatever it is, the lead gen, to becoming a sale, like having a conversation with that business is one of the greatest predictors of moving forward in the sales process.
Yeah.
And so, if you're not thinking about this now, it's time to start thinking about this. If you're doing lead gen, if you're running leads, making sure as many of those leads as possible have a conversation with you. And there are multiple different ways to do that. There's not necessarily only one solution to having a conversation, but like
100%.
Chris said, email is a lower open rate and a much lower click through rate, lower response rate. And then even in experience, what you find out is even people who do respond, it's not a very conversational channel, right?
Yeah.
Like even the people
100%.
who do engage with it, it's kind of a one way newsletter information, and then you can click through and land on a landing page. It's good for that sort of stuff, but it's not great for conversations. And what we've found is that having a conversation with the lead is like a massive predictor of them building trust, feeling like they have a connection. The psychology of sales, they build so much momentum by having that conversation. And yeah, it seems like WhatsApp is a fantastic channel for achieving that step of the process to help people actually kind of move forward in sales.
I'm really glad that you pointed out the gap between marketing and sales. I talk about this all the time, and you're one of the few people that has actually pointed that out before I do.
Nice. Okay.
The and the way that I phrase it, you've hit the nail on the head. Especially in bigger corporations, marketing will typically blame sales for not converting the leads that they're sending there, and sales will blame marketing for the quality of the leads that are coming through. And the problem is that gap between the middle bit is the customer's experience.
Hmm.
So I talk a lot about the book that I've written. I sort of lay out what these theories are throughout it, and one of the chapters in the book is reminding you that your leads are human beings; they're actual people. I think sometimes marketing campaigns forget that.
Hmm.
They'll look and see, oh, I've got 100 leads have come in this week. You're like, well, so 100 human beings have responded to you. Like they have actual lives, and if you're sending them an email and then going, oh, they haven't responded, there are umpteenth reasons why that would be the case. And you'll get my personality and my sense of humor through this, and I almost have to apologize for it sometimes beforehand. But I ask people very regularly, all right, if you call a lead that's come through on the system and they don't pick up, do you think they're not interested? And very often in the rooms that I'm in, people will go, yeah, they would have picked up the phone otherwise. And I was like, there is an equal chance you called them while they were in the toilet. Now,
Amazing.
the different bit is if you think about it like that, it changes your mindset towards the next follow up. And what WhatsApp allows us to do in terms of filling that gap, and I'll talk about how we use video content in there and how the buttons and the quick replies really make that conversation go a lot further. Is I want to make it hyper easy. The analogy that I use, which I'm realizing when I'm speaking to a US audience, is sometimes different because in the US, when you learn to drive, you're almost exclusively learning to drive in automatic cars. Whereas over here, we have what I think you would call a stick shift.
Yeah.
When you're driving a stick shift, for those that drive one, you'll
What do you
realize
call it, by the way?
just a manual car.
Manual transmission. Yeah. Fair enough.
So when we're in a manual, the amount of time we spend in first gear is minimal. And I want to compare this to a sales process and the
Hmm.
conversations. So you in any journey that you're doing, and if I relate a car journey to the sales journey, the amount of time you spend in first is so fractional compared to the entire journey. But if you don't start in first, usually you stall the car.
Right.
Now, sometimes you could start in second. Very rarely you might be able to start in third if the car's going downhill and you already have really strong momentum because it's a really hot lead from a referral process. First gear is about how many things that I can do that will stop them dropping out of that sequence. And when you're in early doors in that sales process, the tiniest thing can put somebody off. Now, one of the things that I talk about is the importance of video and WhatsApp, and I kind of want to stress that because you just don't get that functionality with email. You can put videos in email, but it relies on them clicking through and opening wherever it's hosted, and you're not attaching one because otherwise it would fall into every spam folder in the world.
Mhm.
Loom videos actually do quite a good job, and I've seen Loom. I know there are other brands out there where you can do recordings and people click on links. You're still relying on them going out of their way to take an action that they might not be ready to because they're still in first gear.
Yeah.
So I want to share one of the slides that I have for the at the summit as
Level
a
up.
bit of a level up, yeah. And if you saw me do the talk, you'll understand the point that I'm making here. Specifically, I'm going to do this slide here. Now, I don't know how this is going to appear on the screen. Haplin, you tell me what that looks like.
So I'm going to add this to the scene, and
Perfect.
yeah, there we go.
This is I need to explain this whenever I get this up on a screen, right? This is one of my favorite sentences in the world. And the reason this is one of my favorite sentences is I could write this sentence down and there are 7 words in it. and it has 6 different meanings based on the emphasis that I put on on the individual words. So if I was to say, I didn't tell you to punch him,
Right.
it's different to I didn't tell you to punch them. It's different to I didn't tell you to punch them. I didn't tell you to punch them. I didn't tell you to punch them. And I didn't tell you to punch them are all completely different sentences.
Yeah.
The reason I bring this out, and it's a bit of an exaggerated like example of it, but the reason I talk about this is if I write that sentence down and it's in purely text-based marketing, whether in a text-based email, text-based SMS, even in your landing pages, what you're putting out there, I have a 1 in 6 chance of you reading that sentence the way that I wrote it. And if you take it the wrong way, because you didn't have your coffee in the morning or you didn't wake up on the right side of the bed, you're going to read that and go, I won't bother. And
Mm.
spoiler alert, I'm never going to know because every time I read that sentence, I'm reading it the way that I wrote it. Now, by utilizing video content in WhatsApp, I can automatically have my tonality correct and I can say it so that you understand exactly what I mean immediately. There's no ambiguity. And where you come from a good place of service as part of that, that makes sense. Now, how we implement this is let's take inbound inquiries. That's where most people implement this into their processes. And I'll talk about different things that are really effective, but inbound inquiries is normally number one for most of the people we work with and most of the people that I speak to. The second an inquiry comes in, I don't need to go into the stats. Everybody will realize that the quicker you get back to that lead, the more likely they are to continue converse, become a sale, everything like that.
Yeah, which there are crazy stats that
Yeah.
support, and particularly for the first 5 minutes. I did a whole presentation on this. Following up the lead in the first 5 minutes
Mhm.
is absolutely paramount, which is another reason these channels do so well. WhatsApp is such a huge important factor because people actually look at that within the first 5 minutes too. A lot of
Oh,
people will see an email and think, "I'll get to that later," or whatever, and by the time they even get it, it's not your fault. If you even if you send the email within 5 minutes, it's just the way that it goes that they've already lost momentum in the sales process, psychologically speaking. By
yeah.
the time they read that email, they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's right, I did fill out that form yesterday," or whatever.
It's the psychological element for the prospect going through the process. The second they fill out a form, their job is finished in their mind. And
Yep,
it's heightened even more from social media advertising because their brain goes, right, back to the endorphin hit of doom
yep,
scrolling.
mhm,
So I want to grab their attention immediately. And I think Alex Hormozy shared a few videos recently where he talks about a company that he's worked with who has like a 55% close rate from lead because they pay one member of staff and her sole job is to call every lead within 60 seconds. And I don't disagree with him. My contention with what he says is that implies that leads are only coming in within the hours that she would typically work. You're not calling a lead that inquires at 1 o'clock in the morning, no matter how good you are. And it relies on the fact that the volume of leads she's taking in means that she isn't on a call with another lead at the time where another lead comes in.
yeah,
So I would contend that alongside that, and I think that's a good strategy, by the way. None of that is downplaying, like, have somebody call them quickly. But I think you need to have something immediate. And if at the point at which somebody's making an inquiry, your immediate response is a WhatsApp that can go within 10 seconds that has a video of you that looks something like, hi, Chris here. Thank you so much for putting the inquiry in. This video is going to explain all of the next steps and also answer a few questions everybody normally has at this stage. And if you want to skip the step where we try and call you at a time that doesn't suit you, press the button below and you can click in and book some time with us. And then you answer the FAQs, frame your fees. What you're doing is you're taking somebody's attention from what might have been a minute or 2 minutes from having seen the initial contact or website, and then turning that into 3 or 4 minutes because they're watching you. They're building trust. And they can hear a human being's voice. None of the words are being misinterpreted. And you're leading them towards engagement,
nice.
which kind of neatly comes onto things like quick reply messages and quick reply buttons, I should say, in the
Yeah.
template messages that you can send on WhatsApp, which we'll talk about in a couple of seconds.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's this. I think this is a great time. I think we've talked a lot about the strategy. Um, And now we're kind of starting to transition our way into some of the tactics, and I think that's a great place to go next. I'm curious if you, yeah, like, obviously, for any business who's not currently implementing conversational follow-up, uh, this is like a 0 to 1 change. Just, like, turning that on is the most important thing that you can do to increase
Yeah,
your lead conversions down the sales pipeline, right? So we've kind of addressed that. But once you have turned that on, I'm sure that there are some tips and tricks. You just explained the importance of video and how that can help. I didn't tell you to punch them, right? Making sure that you're getting the right message, the right tonality, and also like building trust, reinforcing your brand identity with video, more rich media, right? But I'm sure there's also other some do's and don'ts or tactics or tricks or things that you have discovered along the journey that I'm sure would save a lot of agencies a lot of pain as they are implementing, trying to get started on the right foot, knowing the right way to do this thing. I want to re-emphasize for people watching that if you're not doing this right now, that's the wrong way. Just turning it on is the most important thing that you can do to start getting results. Even if they're not optimized, even if it's not perfect, even if you don't have a video, follow up with your leads, get them and get them all a WhatsApp message, right? If you're in that market, or SMS, or another channel if you're in a different market. But, yeah, so I don't want anybody to have any excuse of like, "Well, I'm not doing it perfectly like Chris is, so I better not follow up," right? The most
100%.
important thing is to be following up. If you turn it on, even if it's not perfect, you're gonna get results with it.
Yeah.
That said, the next step is to think about optimizing and what is the actual tactical approach to implementing. I'm curious, Chris, if you'd be willing to walk us through like your approach to what an actual implementation for a WhatsApp follow-up message looks like, what a campaign looks like, and kind of show us what your approach to implementing WhatsApp in high level.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've really succinctly put the worst case scenario if you turn this on is that nobody buys from you. The guarantee if you have it turned off is nobody buys from you.
Great way of putting it.
I
Exactly right.
it, it's the I talk a lot about websites because a lot of people generally are like, no, we're not launching the new website until it's perfect. It's like, well, until it's launched, you're guaranteeing zero traffic. So if you launch it, the worst case scenario is what you're currently guaranteeing. Launch it,
Mhm.
and then you can make tweaks. I also talk a lot, and I've been speaking to my clients on this theme for the last couple of weeks in particular, is what I call tactile feedback. So as a business, getting feedback from our prospects, customers is obviously
Oh, yeah.
incredibly important. And it's also worth remembering that your experience of your business is going to be completely different to how a prospect is going through because you know your business better than anybody else does. So you will know the answer to questions that they don't know. And if you're approaching it how you would go through the process, not many people will because you're glossing over facts that everybody else will not know. When I talk about feedback, I've got actual feedback that people are giving you, so comments, reviews, eliciting that feedback, asking for it, and then what I call tactile feedback, which is feedback that you're getting from their behavior going through the process. If everybody's getting to the third message in your follow up and then everybody's falling off a cliff, let's have a look at the third follow up.
Yeah.
If everybody is asking the same question after the second message, let's put the answer to it before the second message. And we do this all the time. We actually overhauled our onboarding process recently because we had 2 or 3 clients say, what do I need to have ready for the onboarding? And I realized that if they're asking the question, number one, if multiple people ask you a question, times that by 10, that's how many people had the question. Just most people don't
Yeah.
ask. So when you've got multiple questions coming in on the same thing, I'm like, well, I haven't done a good enough job of letting you know what happens. And the onboarding process happens immediately after you pay me. So if your first emotion is, right, I don't really know what the next step is, that's not great, and is the number one way buyer's remorse starts creeping in. So
Mhm.
look at the behavior, look at the tactile feedback that you have, and I'll show, for example, my initial message that gets sent out and how I utilize that and the different elements of it. Because I can start seeing, right, where are people dropping off, what are the stages, and where can I tweak and change based on that behavior. And very often, I talk to a lot of businesses that think, right, from lead, the next step is, let's say, booking an appointment. I know not every business is going to be like that. I'm just going to use the sort of service approach of lead comes in, book a call for ease, but you're going to know how it kind of applies to your business and the variance.
Mm.
But most businesses will say, right, this is the second step, and it's like it's not the second step. It's like the 10th step. The first step is send them a message and they open it. The next step is get them to engage with the message. The next step is have the reply. The next step is get them to watch a video. There are all of these steps in between. And if you're trying to get people to leap from here to here, loads of people might try and they'll only get halfway and they'll give up and you'll never know. And this is the thing. It's where the marketing department will turn around and go, I've sent you leads. And the sales team will say the leads weren't very good. It's like, no, their experience wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Rory Sutherland said this brilliantly once, and it was relatively controversial, but he said, in his mind, the attributed value in a restaurant to the chef and the person that cleans the floors should be the same. And obviously, in reality, they don't get paid anywhere near the same. But if you walk into a restaurant where the food is lovely, but your feet stick to the floor because nobody's cleaned it, that's going to have as much of a detrimental impact on your experience as a lovely floor but crap food.
Mm.
So the the experience is really important. And humor me with a bit of an exercise I do with a lot of people. Happen, think about your favorite restaurant. So think about everything about it, the one that you go to. You don't have to tell me what it is, but think about all of it, how many times you've been there, the experiences, the memories, the service, everything that you
Yeah,
have there.
I wanna get fully immersed in this. I am a yes man for this type of game, I love it. Are we talking, like, my favorite, like, a go-to kinda cheap hole in the wall, like, family neighborhood type thing, or, like, my favorite, like, the nice restaurant, like, my favorite.
I'm gonna let you make that decision. If
Okay,
you had this evening, you were going out for dinner, where would you go?
okay, got it.
Now, think about the time that you had the best food in a restaurant that you've ever had.
Oof, 'kay.
The chances are, the majority of the time that I do this, those two places aren't the same.
Correct, yeah, I thought of a different place.
And yet, on paper, a restaurant is there to give you food.
Mhm,
So I think about it, the restaurant that I've had the best food in my life, and I will talk about this place like unending. I've only ever been there once.
yeah,
And yet restaurants thrive on repeat business coming back again and again and again. My point being that I can ask the majority of people that question, and usually the answer is two different things. The reason one place is your favorite is for a variety of reasons that have nothing to do with the food. So
yeah,
when we're looking at your sales experience, people say, "Oh, they won't buy it, it's too expensive. They're not going to do this." That's not it. It's the experience that people go through and the value that they then attribute to what that experience has been that will
yeah,
make it easier to go through. And I guarantee you, you'll stand out amongst your competition if they're putting inquiries in with 3 or 4 of your competitors, and you've sent them a video thanking them for it, explaining what the next steps are.
yeah. Yeah, it's differentiation, right? Like, the whether you're in local or digital or whatever, like, when a prospect or someone in the market is thinking about who they're going to do business with, and they get this experience of this business, just the way I like to imagine or that I've experienced it is just like they're present. They seem like they're there. Like they you filled out their form and then you actually get some communication. They're like reaching out to you and they want to attract you into more confidence in moving down the sales process. It's just like it feels like such an easy way to win. There are so many businesses. I'm sure folks watching this are working with some of those businesses, and it's a good thing that they have you. Businesses who are just like not present, right? They're not actually present. They don't seem to care. They don't seem to treat their leads like real human beings, right? Like you had said earlier.
It's there was a restaurant, I can't remember the name of the restaurant, so forgive me, but there was one based in London, and they were a new restaurant. They were sort of your top tier Michelin star kind of restaurants. And the owner of the restaurant sent the staff to like the restaurant nearby that was like the highest rated.
Mhm.
And afterwards, he asked them about the experience, and everybody talked about all the amazing things. And he said, right, what was one thing that you thought was negative? Because instead of trying to copy all the things that we look at somebody doing really well, let's look at the things that you didn't enjoy. And one of the staff members said, well, I'm a beer drinker. And whilst there was a whole wine list, there was
Mhm.
only 3 or 4 beers that were on tap. So I didn't really have much of a choice on that. And somebody said the coffee was, it was a coffee. I didn't get the chance to sort of have different types. And they basically pointed out really small things. And he said, right, you are the beer connoisseur for us. You go out and find what the perfect beer experience would be
Mm.
for people. And that's what we're going to change, because it's all about, it's all about the experience side of it and how you're nurturing that lead through. And what I want to do with WhatsApp, and what we try and put across, is that it isn't email, it isn't SMS, it is a conversation. And I make it akin to, if you went into a store to go and buy a television, for me, your email and your website are the equivalent of the posters and the signage and the leaflet that you get handed. The WhatsApp should be the conversation you have with the person standing in the department that can tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if that person does their job well, you'll walk out of the store having spent more money than you expected to, and you'll be glad and you'll be justifying it to everybody else around you, because Steve in that department was absolutely brilliant and he walked us through everything. WhatsApp isn't email. It is not received the same way as email. And this will apply to SMS as well.
Mhm.
Haplin, if somebody sent you an SMS and it was that long, my first emotion is, oh, dear God, what have I done? What have I done? I'll look at it and I'll just go, who have I annoyed that they've sent me 3 paragraphs? Like it, and yet I see sometimes when people are implementing WhatsApp and email and they do that, it's just not going to get noticed.
Mhm.
I, I want to share my screen for what my first message is when somebody first inquires with the business. So you
Beautiful. Please hit us with it.
you've seen the I explained what the video says. So the video that you can sort of see here, what I'm
Yeah.
saying in the video is that I go on to talk about FAQs and I talk about pricing and the questions we always kind of get asked at that stage. But you'll notice in the actual text body of the WhatsApp, there's very little text. It's welcome to WhatsApp automation for businesses. Please watch the video above. If you have any questions at all, let us know. And then a little footer message that just says, struggling to see the video, click here. If there are ever any issues with the video playing on their device, I want to cover all of the bases.
Right.
And then the video is aiming to get you towards the buttons that are below. Now, I'm going to sound like a bit of a hypocrite when I say this bit. I said that I don't believe from initial lead to booking in a sales call is that first leap. But you'll notice I have a button there for it.
Mhm. Book a consultation. Yeah.
Very certain personality types, very, very direct personality types, will just be, I don't need the fluff. I know what I want to book a call. For
Mhm.
them, that's the reason that button is there. That's one of the 2 reasons that button is there.
That's like, being able to start the car in 3rd gear if you're already headed
Yeah.
downhill, that situation. Right.
If
Yeah.
I get an existing customer send somebody my way, they've already kind of been sold to by my clients before they come to me. So they might have already seen what the client is doing and how they're implementing it. So they don't need a demo on my side of what it looks like.
Yep.
Now, one of the little tricks that we can do in the system is all of the 3 buttons that you see on the right hand side there, the automation demo, book a consultation, and our services, are what are called quick reply buttons. So they're
Yep.
buttons that you can add at the bottom. You can actually have up to 10. I don't recommend any more than 3, because if I was to add a 4th message here, it would just make the 4th button see all options, and you only get 3 anyway, and it just doesn't feel as
Oh,
good.
I see. It automatically just the 3 is the max
Automatically
you'll see
condense it.
unless you do click all
Yeah.
options. That's a great tactic right there. Like, just these little bits of wisdom that come with experience of like, hey, if you do more than 3 buttons, then it's gonna collapse them anyways. So, yeah, yeah, great value.
There are some scenarios where that makes sense, but generally speaking, in the context that
Mhm.
we're talking, just keep it to 3. Um, Now, one of the tactics that we can use is when somebody presses that button, the automation from a technical side, and the playbook will go through this in more detail. I'm just going to gloss over it. But we set up an automation that is looking for somebody pressing that button. The automation is customer replied, and we filter out the exact words of that button through the channel of WhatsApp. The playbook will touch on exactly the technicalities on how to do that. So when that button is pressed, I can send another message in response. But I can do more than that, because then pressing that button is a trigger point for an entire workflow. So internally, if somebody presses the book a consultation button, not only do they get a response, their opportunity also moves to a stage of soft interest or
Yeah.
indicated. There's also a task raised for the sales team to call them. They're also tagged with sales interest. Their engagement score goes up by 20. Like
Wow.
somebody that clicks the I'm interested in booking a consultation, they light up like a firework in our system for us to go and call them.
Amazing.
So
Like internal notifications and tasks
yeah,
and that sort of thing. Wow.
if you, I'll come back to this message in a second, but one of the perfect examples that we have is, let's go into WhatsApp keywords, and I need to reschedule.
And just so you guys know, Chris has got a lot going on this screen right now. I speaking from personal experience as a high level customer, my workflow set does not look quite that big. And what you'll learn in the playbook is not necessarily going to be that robust. I hope nobody's feeling
Oh yeah,
overwhelmed
no,
with
it's
that.
not.
A good like set of a couple solid workflows that you use
Yeah.
all the time is the way to go for sure. But definitely, Chris, you have built out quite a workflow set
Oh,
there.
there's one that I sent to one of my colleagues earlier on, and I said, "Do you want to have a minor heart attack? Come onto my screen at the moment." And that was there. And she just went, "Nope, nope." So,
Yeah,
this is a bit of an example, right? When we send out meeting reminders, and I'll talk about the three top use cases that I would recommend. Is when somebody wants to reschedule, they'll press the button that say I need to reschedule, and yes, it sends a simple WhatsApp back to them. But then
mhm,
it also looks right. Do they have the client tag? And if they have the client tag, notify Neve in the team, who's the office manager. She'll then go and reach out to them and make sure that if they haven't rescheduled through the links that we've provided, that she's proactively going and doing it. And you can see it raises a task as well.
mhm.
And if it's part of the sales process, so they don't have the client tag, the entire sales team get notified and the opportunity moves to a different stage, which is contacted action to be taken on our side, and a task is raised for the head of sales. So you're starting to, this is what I mean by those behavioral identifiers, that tactile feedback, what's happening at what stage and how you're going through it.
Yeah,
And what I want to do is I want to take people on that bit of that conversation journey, shall we say, where I'm eliciting them to just press buttons and start engaging. And the automation demo that you see in that message goes brilliant. Here's an example of how it can work. I'm going to get you to pick a card, and they get to the choice. The two buttons on the next message are red or black. And if they press black, it will go brilliant, spades or clubs. And then if they press either of those two, it will go king, queen, or ace of clubs, for example.
mhm,
It'll then say, what's the point in this? Well, I've got you to go through this journey, and I'm calling people out because I get to show off because this is what I provide. But I'm calling
yeah,
people out. Number one, I've just got you to reply to 5 WhatsApp messages. And if I attempted to do that with email, you would have had an aneurysm and nobody would have gone anywhere near it.
right,
Number two, I could be using this process to qualify people in and out and only present them to book a meeting in with the team or take the next step if they meet certain criteria I've laid out before you've even spoken to them.
mhm,
And number three, I've got them to build trust and I've captured their attention, again, what I was talking about earlier, and kept them in conversation for longer with them being fully aware it's an automated process.
yeah,
So normally what happens at the end of that is they pick a card. I say that there are 3 buttons that say, I could use this. This might be useful. I will never use this. And this is important. I want to qualify people out as much
yeah,
as I want to qualify them in. And the ones that say, I will never use this, they get tagged in the system, not interested. Brilliant. Thank you for telling me. Goodbye.
yep.
But the ones that say, I could use this, brilliant. Next steps is for us to book a call. Here is the link to go and book a call, which they already know that's the next step because I said that in the video and there was the button in the first message anyway.
Beautiful. That is, yeah, I feel like the buttons experience is even an advantage over SMS too, even though they're
Yeah.
both conversational channels. Like it takes, we were talking about making it as easy for the lead to move forward as possible. It's a huge factor in sales follow-up and stuff, like, even in SMS, they still have to, like, type
I have
out
to
a
type their answer,
response,
yeah.
and now even that has gone away, now it's just a button with
Yeah.
options.
It's
Um,
the one of the slides I had in the talk for at Level Up was the open rates from SMS and WhatsApp are comparable. They're similar.
hmm,
But the engagement rate on average, the reply rate on SMS about 18%, on WhatsApp is 55.
wow,
Like
wow,
our current reply rate, and I know I'm a bit of an anomaly because it's what we do, but our reply rate can fluctuate in the 60-70%.
wow,
And
that's
it's just
killer,
because we're making it really easy. I want people to just have a fluid experience throughout the entire journey.
yeah. Just curious, and that initial, message that you send with the video, about how long is that video?
So that's probably the longest video we have in most of the sequences. It's about
Okay.
2.5 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
You can get on WhatsApp template messages because the file size limit is 16 meg. You can
Mhm.
usually get up to about 4.5 minutes before the quality of the video starts becoming noticeably reduced to fit the file size that
Yeah,
needs to be sent.
and that's
Normally, my recommendation is max 2.5 minutes for certain situations, but normally like a minute 90 seconds for most.
yeah, I imagine that's a really good constraint. I was thinking that, especially for an initial message, it's probably, like, the shorter the better, to just try to get people to take that next step, keep them engaged. Obviously, I'm sure that, like, the tone of that video is very much like, stay with me," because
Oh,
that's where it's most important to kinda once they move past that, then they'll be building momentum, right?
it's similar to social media. The first
Mhm,
10-15 seconds of the video is the most important. You
mhm,
get a little bit more rope with WhatsApp video to capture their attention because they're in the platform, they're not scrolling past it than
yep,
you would a normal social media one.
that makes
But
sense.
it's why if where I was doing the recording, I was saying this video is going to lay out the next steps and answer a few questions that you always have. That one sentence I have in the video keeps them in because they have unanswered questions and they know, oh, if I stay, then you'll answer the question, hopefully further down the line.
Yeah, I think that's a good piece of advice too hidden in there is, like, tell them what you're going to tell them and make sure that what you're gonna tell them is gonna be really valuable. So you say, "I'm gonna show you blah, blah, blah," and make sure that blah, blah, blah is something they really wanna know, and then they'll stay and watch the
Yeah.
video.
The
Um
I was going to talk about the top sort of how the best ways that I've seen to implement it and the sort of use cases for it. Because I think that's something I always get asked is how do you go like where would you put it into practice? And we've focused a lot on like inbound inquiries because that's let's be blunt, that's usually where people get the most return on putting it in because they see an actual financial it leads to sales.
mhm, totally.
For for me, there are 3/4 that I think are the most important. The inbound inquiries is definitely one of them. Meeting reminders and things
Mhm,
like webinar reminders, basically a reminder series for an appointment that they have booked. Um, we've got a. I remember when we first onboarded a client that was with us. This was a couple of years ago. They actually had somebody on hand whenever they ran their webinars for the 30 minutes before it was due to start to basically deal with any technical queries like I can't find the link, I can't get in, I can't log in, all of that kind of stuff. And
mhm,
the first time that we put WhatsApp in, which involved a video being sent to them the day before, laying out everything that's going to happen on the event, on the webinar, on the
nice.
sales call, whatever it looked like, and explaining that, and also typically asking a few questions beforehand and getting them to go through a bit of a chatbot similar to my pick a card one. Um, when he messaged us 5 minutes before the webinar was due to start, saying nothing's working, nobody's turning up, nobody's asked any questions, and he was panicking that nothing had gone out and nobody was going to turn up. And actually, all of the questions that he was there to answer were being answered by the automation, and they had a 20% higher turn up rate than they would normally have. And nobody asked for the link. His show up rate
Amazing.
went from about 42%. It hovered between 42 and 50, and the show up rate went up to 63%.
Wow.
So, and the conversion rate, he also noticed the conversion rate after the masterclass had gone up as well because people were primed that there was going to be an offer in the videos that were being sent before the actual thing started. So it didn't come as a
Yeah,
surprise.
and it's yeah, they're being primed, and also it's just, like, more connection points, more sales momentum is being built. Sales psychology-wise, the people are like, "Oh, this business is clearly on it. They are prepping me so well for this." Like they feel more connected before they've even got on the webinar. They feel like there's already trust building. Like the sales momentum builds when the business is just present, when it's
Yeah.
reaching out to them, when it's on top of its stuff. It's very professional, right? There's so much trust that's built up in a solid, responsible reminder sequence.
Yeah. And it's again, it goes down to the attention.
Hmm.
Who's more likely to buy coming in? Somebody that's watched and engaged with your messages between watching videos and interacting for 10 minutes versus somebody that filled out a form 3 days ago.
Yep.
It's still important to have those sequences. I think businesses fall into three categories, especially with reminder sequences. Number one is that they just send a confirmation and hope and pray that they turn up.
Hmm.
Number two, and this is something that High Level has pushed massively, and I'm a huge, huge supporter of it, is having a sequence that reminds people to get there. I would say there should be a third category which you lean into, which is less of a reminder sequence and more of an excitement series.
Yeah, like
What
a
can I
ramp
put
up.
in that yes is reminding you of it, but also going, tomorrow's the day. And you can put this is where you can have some fun with it. Is you can put things in going because you registered today, you didn't expect this, but here's a bit of a freebie as a thank you for turning up. And
Yeah.
encouraging reschedules, because again, you'll know sales psychology wise, it's a hell of a lot easier to get somebody to reschedule a meeting if they know they're not going to turn up versus rebook a meeting after the time has passed. They're
Hmm.
just two different mentalities. So our no-show rate for sales calls last year was 90, sorry, our show up rate for sales calls was 98.54%. We had a less than
Wow.
2% no-show rate on sales calls.
That's unicorn status.
It,
That's
it was
crazy.
it's I put it down to two things. Number one, the sequence when they first came in did a really good job of explaining what all of the next steps are and why you would be booking a call in the first place, and seeding fees and making sure that people were qualified. And the second step was we did such a good job in the build up of
Mhm.
keeping their attention, keeping them engaged, asking them questions about what they were looking for. Where they came on, and I still have this to this day where people come on and go, Chris, I feel like I know you, and I've never spoken to them before, but they've watched my face talk for about 5 minutes so far.
Yeah,
So they build, like we talk about the importance of having that trust that you can deliver it. Well, I come onto a call and I very rarely need to work on that. And that's not an arrogance thing. That's just they feel like because I've already spoken to them and the tonality's there and I've almost held their hand through the process, that this is just an extension of a conversation they're already in the middle of.
that's awesome. Yeah, makes a ton of sense. I wanna mention one other thing too, which is like you when you shared your screen, you showed all these other features that you're using in high level, and that is kind of you the beauty of running WhatsApp through high level too is like we're already getting into like it implies the rest of we're using calendars and we're using uh, workflows for sales teams and reminders and all this different stuff. You said you were running WhatsApp even before high level had WhatsApp, and I'm sure that was an interesting journey and that you got great results with it. But I just want to reiterate that this is such a great launch point, a springboard into using other features in high level too. There is a
Yeah.
huge difference between just like the Alex Hormozy method of making sure every lead gets called, like just having a dedicated person calling, or even if you applied that to WhatsApp, you could have somebody spamming out, thumbing out messages on WhatsApp to follow up with every lead. You could implement WhatsApp for a business that way, but with the beauty of high level workflows and the WhatsApp integration in high level, it syncs up with all of these different fantastic features that allow us to just compound the results and exponentially um, increase our usage in the way that these features talk to one another with calendars, with internal notifications, with calls, with AI, having AI manage
Yeah.
conversations for us, et cetera, et cetera.
And also an extension to that, things like variable fields that you can pull through, where I
Totally.
can personalize WhatsApp messages the same way I would an email. So
Yeah.
my reminder series, which has that video, is also saying, "Reminder, your time is tomorrow at this time, and here is the link pulling through
Yeah.
from the meeting location."
Yeah.
You can make it so it's such a personal platform. WhatsApp. People that regularly use
Mhm.
it are in family group chats, are speaking
Mhm.
to their closest friends. They're like, it's such a like you've never once put yours sincerely at the end of a WhatsApp.
Right.
It's such a more personal channel. So let's make it more personal as you go through, whilst not hiding away from the fact that this is automated. It still can be really personable.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have so much more scalability in those messages. Like you were talking about engagement scores and routing contacts to different opportunity stages. We're using the whole platform here. I would encourage folks who are watching this call, especially if you're a new user and you want to take action on this stuff. This is a great way to kind of build a roadmap for yourself with high level implementations. Like step one, just get WhatsApp set up and make sure every single one of your leads or your clients' leads gets a WhatsApp message, right? Gets that follow-up. That's the 0 to 1 change from not doing anything to now we're at least, like, following up. And then step 2 is you can start to, branch out to building out that sequence, adding a video, some of the tactics that we talked about, the button replies that Chris was going over. And then step three could be um, driving the next step in the sales process after that. With if it's going to be booking an appointment, then you get to go set up a calendar and set up a reminder sequence. And it's just such a great way to kind of go bite by bite to using more and more of the high level platform, which is a huge advantage of WhatsApp inside of high level specifically, because all of these features integrate with themselves with workflows. And there's so much going on with high level, it can be so overwhelming for new users. I deal with this all the time. And so having this idea for what's the first step I'm going to take, it's going to be that 0 to 1 change. It's going to start getting me great results fast, that 0 to 1, and then see where I can go from there.
The one thing I want to add on, chapter 3 of the playbook itself
Okay.
is very deliberately at the start, and it's called the warning.
The warning.
When you send your very first WhatsApp to somebody, as in when they receive the first WhatsApp they've ever received from you, Meta has a warning associated with that. So on the recipient's device, it will pop up saying, "This is a number that isn't in your phone. What do
Mhm.
you want to do? Block, report." Different devices have slightly different warnings, but every device has a warning, and all of them have at least the block button on it.
Interesting.
And what we find is that sometimes when people go into this, they either aren't aware that that is there, or they're sending out messages that aren't expected, and they can get blocked really quickly. So
Mm.
the reason the chapter is so early in the playbook is I need people to understand that because it's so much more personal, it isn't a great cold messaging platform. You'll get banned really, really quickly because it's so easy for them to block you. But
Mhm.
what Meta is looking for, and this is something that's really prevalent and probably one of the best bits of advice I give, because Meta is looking for engagement and replies. It knows that your open rates are going to be massive because it knows what WhatsApp's open rates are. It's looking for replies. And here is where we can have a bit of fun, because the Meta will start you off, if you're a verified business manager, it will start you off at 1,000 messages a day, or 1,000 unique conversations, I should say, a day. If you're not verified, you can still set it up. It just limits you at 250 a day. So you start at two
Plenty.
different levels depending on whether you're verified in the back end of Meta. That's not pay for verification or anything, it's business portfolio verification. If over a rolling 7-day period, 500 people reply to your message, which is half of your current limit, Meta will bump you up to 10,000 a day. And again, if over 7 days, 5,000 people, which is half of the limit, reply to you, they'll bump you up to 100,000 a day. And then the next tier above that is unlimited. So they're the 4-tier rate limits. So Meta really, really wants to see replies. That's what it's looking
Gotcha.
for. And here is where we can have a little bit of fun, because remember I said there is that "I'm not interested" button, or "I will never
Mhm.
use this," or some sort of overtly negative "qualify me out" button.
Mhm.
There, I'm not going to swear on this masterclass, I promise.
Good call.
One of one of my buttons post an expo is telling me to leave you alone in no uncertain terms, because
Yeah,
that's my
yeah,
personality. And
yeah,
that's one of the buttons.
yeah,
If I sent 1,000 messages out and 500 people press the "I'm not interested" button, Meta will upgrade my account,
yeah,
even though 500 people have told me never message me again, and I just tagged them in the system. But importantly, they're pressing the button. They, as a prospect, feel vindicated that they're taken out of that sequence, and they
mhm.
haven't pressed the block button.
Yeah, it's an alternative to getting blocked is and you even make it more negative than the block button
Yeah.
almost to attract
Like,
them.
"Please never message me again. I'm
Yeah,
not interested. I will never spend money with you. I'll never buy." Like, that one button, as soon as they press that, by the way, the warning disappears.
Oh,
So on some devices, there's a more prevalent warning right at the bottom of the conversation. The second they press the button, Meta goes, "Yep, no, you're good. You're good. We'll leave you alone." And in other devices, the warning's slightly above the first message, and when you reply, it pushes it up into the heavens of that conversation. Either way, Meta, once they see that somebody's replying to you, they're fine.
yeah,
And it's why that's so important to get that reply engagement and all of that. It's
yeah,
I would have been remiss if I didn't mention that in it. And it's why chapter 3 in the playbook is so early, and you need to do that one before anything else.
totally. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Speaking of the playbook, I do want to just show people really fast how they can find the playbook. Um, oops, that's not the screen I wanted to share. Let's stop actually really quick. Sorry about that. Let me share a tab with y'all. Mm, I think this one. There we go. Okay. So if you are in your agency settings, what I want you to do is click University and then click Go to HighLevel University. We see this, right? Yes, we do. Perfect. Then in here, if you've never joined this before, you may need to click Join Group. It's very simple, open group. You can join in with a click of a button. Just create a password and you'll be in.
You're
Head to
still
the
happening. You're still seeing the go to high level university.
Oh, right, because it opened a new tab.
Yeah,
Need to take my own medicine here.
all right.
Let's, replace
It's a feature of post lockdown. We all know how to screen share, and we're all fully familiar with this.
Yeah, totally. Okay, now you see university, right?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Thank you so much for your patience. You click go to university, you land here, you may need to join the group. Super simple to do. Head to the learning tab. This is our full playbook library. We've got playbooks on all these awesome different product areas. You can learn a ton about high level. I've made quite a few of these myself, so I'm very proud of them. But the one that I want to highlight to you all is WhatsApp for high level with Chris Dillon. We click open there. And it takes us into this beautiful playbook that Chris has put together for you guys that's going to go way more in depth than we were able to go on this masterclass. This whole masterclass was like an introduction, but then we have all these different pieces of technical implementation. And, like, just for example, here's the warning that he was talking about. Beautiful instructions on some of these tactical kind of techie pieces that you just want to make sure you're thinking through, because there's so much that goes on with these types of messages, whether it's SMS or another, or WhatsApp or even email or other channels as well, where you just like, there's little things that are really easy to get right if you know what to do, but they're also really easy to get wrong if you don't know what to do. That can run you into issues with compliance or getting suspended, or like whatever. People are complaining all the time about this or that account getting suspended, and it's instructions like these that just are really simple and straightforward, that just kind of give you the answers to the test to know what to do to make sure that you're in good standing, that everything is really professional and taken care of. And that's another reason why, like, high level is so great with these types of channels, is because a lot of this stuff is baked in: the opting out, do not disturb functions, and making sure that you're staying like respectful and responsible in the way that you're following up and not spamming people, etc. There's so many of the guardrails that are in place, and a lot of this education is really to help make sure that you actually get the most out of this, as well as maximize your results, maximize responses, appointments, book conversions, etc. So this is the whole playbook, and you can even learn a little bit more about Chris. And yeah, can they even get in touch with you, Chris?
I believe so. Well, you can definitely WhatsApp me. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, these are fantastic, fantastic modules. Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Find Chris on the high level directory. Chris is a certified admin as well. So if you can click through to get in direct contact with Chris, if you think you need a little bit more help with WhatsApp, or you just are thinking to yourself, this is too much for me to deal with, I don't have the time, I'd rather outsource some of the work to get WhatsApp set up, but you want all these results, you can have a conversation with Chris and his team via the links beneath some of these modules here. So I just wanted to yeah, shout you out and promote you a little bit. I know we didn't plan on that, so I hope that's okay that I give you a little bit of
More than
promotion.
okay. I appreciate that.
There you go. Okay, so that is the WhatsApp playbook. And I cannot stress to you enough that this masterclass has only just touched on the surface of some of these issues. I hope that you got a ton of value out of this. If you're watching this, definitely your next step is to go watch through the playbook so you can actually get to implementing with detailed screen shares about how to set up that message, how to set up buttons, how to go about thinking through your WhatsApp setup. So as we kind of wrap up here, I just want to pass it to you one more time, Chris, if you have any final thoughts or bits of wisdom to leave us with.
I think the final thought is the more conversations you have with people, naturally the more conversions you're going to get. And we talk about a numbers game, and I think sometimes people conflate numbers of leads versus number of conversations,
Hmm.
and they look at what their process is, and we have this thing with marketing campaigns where if I get X amount of leads in, I'll convert 3%. Okay, so next time I'm going to spend the same amount of money and get another 3%. Well, my contention would be, what if you got 6%? And what if you looked at the experience and had more conversations? And yes, it's a numbers game, but I don't think it's number of leads for the most part. I think it's number of people that you get to converse with. The more you look at the experience, the more you'll realize that you can make all of those other marketing efforts go a hell of a lot further by just thinking that your leads are actual human beings.
Fantastic stuff. Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris, for being willing to come on and teach us, share your wisdom and knowledge. We're all so grateful for you. Let's make sure we thank Chris in the chat. Make sure we extend some appreciation to him. This has been another fantastic masterclass on WhatsApp. My name is Haplin. I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.